Let's move on and turn our focus to the big focus story at this hour. Tamil film industry's power couple Nayanthara and Vignesh on Sunday announced that they have become parents to twin boys. Amid the good wishes flowing in, the couple's announcement also created a controversy. While the duo did not make any official statement, reports say that the babies were conceived through surrogacy and apparently in violation of the clauses under the recently announced Surrogacy Act of 2021. Questions are being raised over whether procedures stipulated by the Indian surrogacy laws were followed or not by the couple. That is a question being raised. Nayanthara and Vignesh got married just 4 months ago. So just to take our viewers through what exactly happened. Well, 9th of June is when Nayanthara and Vignesh got married. 9th of October is when Nayanthara and Vignesh took to Instagram to share a picture of their newborns, announcing the birth of twins. 10th of October, that is today, that is yesterday in fact, is when you had the Tamil Nadu Health Minister raise this issue. Mr. Ma Subramaniam says that the state government would probe whether actor Nayanthara and her husband Vignesh followed the rules laid under the Assisted Reproductive Technologies Act and the Surrogacy Act of 2021. Now, after the health minister flagged off his concern, now this happened because, of course, there was a lot of buzz on social media around this. People were doing their calculations on how long back the couple got married and when the law was passed and whether they were in the know of things or not, or whether they violated the Surrogacy Act. Where is the problem? Surrogacy Act on your screens right now. Let's take a quick look at what this act is about. In India, surrogacy is only permitted for altruistic purposes, which means there should be no exchange of money. It should be purely on goodwill, and that can happen only within family. The surrogate does not receive monetary compensation. It is for couples who suffer from proven infertility or disease, and it is prohibited for commercial purposes, including for sale or prostitution. And it must be a close relative of the couple, must be a married woman. The surrogate, that is what we are talking about here, who can be a surrogate, must be a close relative of the couple, must be a married woman with a child of her own, must be aged between 25 to 35 years of age, and can be surrogate only once in her life. Also must possess a certificate of medical and psychological fitness. So this is the larger picture, and within this, of course, we need to now understand whether here is a power couple who's violated some of these regulations. With their announcement, of course, questions now arise on whether they did actually follow the norms, whether they were aware that there is a new Surrogacy Act 2021 in place. Let's welcome here on the show, joining us this evening, Abha Singh, advocate, Dr. Sejal Ajmera, senior obstetrician and gynecology consultant. All right, let's have the guests on screen, please. Okay, I'm told the guests are not connected yet. We'll have the two ladies with us shortly. Let's quickly play out this report on surrogacy laws in India.
Tamil film industry's power couple, actor Nayanthara and director Vignesh announced that they became parents and welcomed their twin boys, Uyir and Ulagam. Good wishes have been flowing in from across the industry, but amid all the joy, the couple also found themselves in the middle of a controversy. The duo tied the knot earlier this year in June, and even though they haven't made any official announcement, the speculation is that the babies were conceived through surrogacy. Since surrogacy has been made illegal in India, barring some exceptions, questions are being raised on the procedure followed and if any rules were violated. Tamil Nadu Health Minister M.A. Subramanian said that an inquiry would be conducted and the government will seek an explanation from the couple. In India, commercial surrogacy has been banned after the Surrogacy Regulation Act of 2021 was passed in December, and it came into effect since January 25, 2022. While commercial surrogacy is banned, only altruistic surrogacy is allowed, which means that the surrogate mother will not receive remuneration or any other monetary incentive from the intending parents apart from insurance cover and medical expenses incurred. The rule also states that only a couple that has a medical indication necessitating gestational surrogacy can opt for it. The only exceptions to this are women who are widowed or divorced and falling under the 35 to 45 year age bracket. A woman can be a surrogate if she is between 21 and 36 years of age, is genetically related to the intending parents, is married at least once, and has at least one child of her own. Since it's a time-taking process anyway, it is possible that the couple opted for surrogacy before the rules have changed. Nayanthara, as a single woman, or the couple as partners could have approached a clinic seeking surrogacy prior to December 2021, when commercial surrogacy was allowed and there were no laws around this issue. The Director of Health Services will examine how the surrogacy was done, and in the meanwhile, fans are awaiting confirmation from the couple as well. Nayanthara and Vignesh met in 2015, and after 7 years of courtship, they finally got married in June 2022. Now, after 4 months of marriage, the couple took to their social media handles to express the joy of welcoming the baby boys.
Let's welcome Abha Singh to the program. Very good evening, ma'am. I just want to begin by asking you that although there is no official confirmation that surrogacy was indeed used, some form of assisted reproductive technique was, of course, used by this couple. They were married for just 4 months. The question is whether there is a misuse of law. As per the Tamil Nadu Health Ministry that has taken cognizance, something is amiss and they are going to probe. If you look at this case, Abha Singh, what is your take on the matter?
You know, in fact, if you see places like Anand and all were the hubs of surrogacy, and something in India, they started saying that it has become a surrogacy center of the world. What did that mean? That it meant that poor people who could not subsist, they started selling their womb. So it was something like renting a womb. And women who were anemic, who could not afford even to have their own babies, were selling their womb because they needed the money. So somewhere there was exploitation, and a lot of cases did come to me at that time. But I think we need to regulate it. And that is why this law came. And in fact, the first thing which it said was that there'll be no commercial surrogacy because you cannot exploit somebody's poverty. So that is one reason. But of course, now that this case has come to Supreme Court where this PIL has been filed, the court would be compelled to look into it, because a lot of feedback that I am getting off is that people don't want some relative, because commercial is ruled out and it is only someone in the family. So a lot of women or mothers who want to have surrogate babies, they say we don't want to do anything gratis. We don't want in the family, because once you have a surrogate child and the woman is in the family, the child will not be so comfortable with his adopted parents, because the issue would be that the surrogate mother would always be around, and if it's a relative. So
Yes.
for the purpose of secrecy, a lot of people don't want a known person to be the surrogate.
And
So
that's
these
understandable, isn't it? That would be quite understandable. So are we saying, Abha, saying here that, you know, not enough thought, not enough discussion and deliberation went before deciding on this kind of a law? Because as we can see, there will be surreptitious practices of surrogate mothers being employed. And this has come to light now, raising questions. Who is to stop the wealthy, the powerful, the influential from, you know, taking any kind of route to get access to surrogacy? Can the government monitor this? Can it be made punishable? Where do we go from here?
Absolutely. You know, a lot of doctors tell me that because of this strong law, all their clients or what work they were getting has gone to Dubai, it has gone to Israel, because people who want are going abroad and getting it done. But if you see the drawbacks, I mean, we do require regulation, because actors like Tushar Kapoor or Karan Johar, they have gone for, you know, like there's no mother. A child requires a mother. A child requires, you know, the very basis of the society is destroyed if two men decide to have a child. You know, that is what is the thought behind it. But yes, a lot of people have also come forward and said it's our choice if we want to have a child. But the issue is that if you have a girl child which is handled by two men, how does the girl child get to know what a mother is? You know, so somewhere it leads to a family imbalance also. So that also fact is something which must have weighed heavily on the lawmakers, and that is why this law came. But yes, the stakeholders need to be taken on board. You need to have these gynecologists, these doctors who who are doing, the people who are running surrogacy, even women who have become surrogates, they should also be taken on board, because a lot of them say that, we couldn't educate our children, we didn't have a house, but we managed to get money out of it, and then we could educate our children. So somewhere for some people, it's a way of earning money. But yes, poverty cannot be exploited. So these things need to be looked into, and you must get the stakeholders on board.
The stakeholders must be taken on board. As of now, the way the law stands, Abha Singh, it is very clear that it cannot be done for commercial purposes. It can only be altruistic. There itself, we are creating, a kind of a law which is perhaps difficult to follow for the reasons that you mentioned about how a family would want the secrecy, how the child may not exactly, be well acclimatized within the family, having a biological mother within the same family. And what about the aspect which you referred to about how this is limiting? This is only allowed for couples, for married couples, for a certain number of years. Do you think that somewhere we are missing the global narrative on these issues?
Absolutely. In fact, for the eligibility of a surrogate mother, if I tell you, it says only a close relative of the intending couple can be a surrogate. Then it says it can only be between the age of 25 to 35 years. Then the surrogate must possess a certificate of medical and psychological fitness. Then it also says surrogate can only be a married woman with a child of her own. Then she can only be a surrogate once in a lifetime. Then a surrogate mother cannot provide her own gametes for surrogacy. So even for the surrogate, they've made it very difficult. So yes, I think definitely it has restricted it, and that is why people who want surrogacy, at least the rich and the famous, they are all flying out of the country. And we know so many names which we don't want to take. They've had children out of surrogacy, out of India. So people who want, but then the issue becomes is people who want but they cannot afford. Then you are having two laws for them. So what about the people who can't afford to go abroad, who can't go to Dubai, who can't go to Israel, who can't go to the US, but they want to have their children? They don't want a relative to be a surrogate. So their interests also need to be guarded. So let us have proper rules, let them be regulated, but you cannot have such laws.
And you know what the tragedy is? This has happened after such a long process that the bill actually lapsed after being introduced once. If we can put out the entire process that the surrogacy law went through, first commercial surrogacy was legalized in India. That is when, like you mentioned, India became a global leader in this practice. The draft bill, of course, was introduced in 2010, and that said, there were no regulations at that time on how many times a mother a lady can be used as a surrogate. So that was junked. That draft bill was junked. 2015, the government banned foreigners from using Indian women as surrogates. 2016, the bill was reintroduced in Lok Sabha in November, but it lapsed. Then again came your 2018 when the bill was reintroduced to ban commercial surrogacy, and it was passed in 2021. In terms of awareness, I also would like to, in fact, welcome on the program Dr. Sejal Ajmera, Senior Obstetrician and Gynecologic Consultant. Good evening, ma'am. Your thoughts on this, since you deal with the issue perhaps of infertility as well, the assisted reproductive technique now with the advancement of medical technology, there are different methods available to couples. In terms of how much, to what extent surrogacy is used, what is its current status in India? Is there a possibility that even in the current law, the misuse of the law is a big possibility here?
Thank you very much. Happy to be here. And I think what you've asked is a very, very pertinent question. Surrogacy has been used over the years. And suddenly with the law coming in 2021 January, all of us who've been practicing this have stopped doing commercial surrogacy completely. So coming back to what do the parents do? Yes, today we have so many assisted reproductive technologies which can be used, which really help women getting pregnant. But surrogacy is an important part of this. A proper regulation is probably what I think is the need of the hour. Banning commercial surrogacy may not really work very well because there are many, many deserving couples who could, be restricted from having their own children if surrogacy is banned. But undoubtedly, we want to stop the exploitation of women, the exploitation of children, the advertising, the psychological issues, and the commercialization of the entire surrogacy sector. But we should not deprive deserving parents of children.
Are there enough other methods, Dr. Ajmera? Then when you say, okay, let's rule out commercial surrogacy, the argument can be that there are enough other ways to get a child. Are there enough other methods, or do you think surrogacy should still remain as a viable option?
A surrogacy should remain as a viable option because it is used when other methods are usually not an option. Like, for example, a lot of women are born without a uterus, but they have ovaries. These are women who we call the Rokitansky-Kushner-Hauser syndrome, where the uterus is not present in them. So how would they ever conceive their own child? There are many women who may have to remove a uterus at an early age. Tuberculosis is a very, very common, a disease in our country, and tuberculosis of the uterus destroys the uterus, and the woman may not be able to bear her own child. Infections in the uterus can do the same. So in any condition where the uterus is not capable of bearing a child, then surrogacy becomes the only option these women can conceive. And
so what is the problem then, Dr. Ajmera, with the current law? It says it has to be altruistic. There can be no exchange of money. It has to be within the family, preferably with mutual consent. What is the problem with this? What exactly is the issue with this law?
I think our esteemed lawyer mentioned, the biggest issue is that you are saying that you have to have altruistic, surrogate. And how do we get women for altruistic surrogate? Means you're looking at the family again. Imagine the plight of a parent who has the mother right there in the household. We were always preferring anonymity when it comes to egg donors, when it comes to sperm donors, when it comes to surrogacy. I think anonymity is very important for the biological couple and their child to live their life. We are
so then what has happened then, Dr. Ajmera, that in the process of trying to address few issues, it has opened a new can of worms. Is that what you say, Abha Singh, as well? That, here is a case that, now we're likely to do more harm than good. Nothing has resolved. There's no solution, amicable solution, so to speak, where both sides can be happy, expectant couples, or people who are willing to offer these services. But there is a new problem that this is now created. Abha Singh?
Actually, there should be a win-win situation for all. In fact, if you see, if you see the situation that, as I was hearing, that there are women who are born without a uterus or their uterus are removed. And as I said, they may not be able to afford to go out of the India to get their surrogacy done. So for them also, you have to guard their interest. And very true, when it has to be from the family, then they start blackmailing you also. It is not that it would be free. I'm sure those relatives, the poor relatives of the family, would charge a hefty sum because you don't have an option. You have to only chase them. So I think keeping that in mind, the courts should look into this, and they must look into it, and these concerns should be looked into, because it's not like you keep imposing laws from above. The time has come when it's a democracy, a healthy democracy, and right to have child would be also equivalent to right to life, because for us, particularly in this country, for us being a mother or a father is a very important thing. So I think the time has come for the courts to tell the legislature to revisit it. Let the Ministry of WCD revisit the whole law, because it is WCD Ministry which has usually compiled it finally. So they revisit it, look into the stakeholders, get these people. And again, if there are any corrections to be done, they must do it. Because even altruistic doesn't mean that blackmailing starts, or it doesn't mean that you want to have a child, but you can't do it because of these regulations. So somewhere it violates the rights of a woman to be a mother. So motherhood is a right.
Important. Both panelists agree here that this whole clause of altruism is a farce. It's not going to work. And I agree with Abha Singh when you say that, there might still be an exchange of money. There might be a demand. There might be blackmailing. All these vices now come into the picture. Dr. Ajmera, to what extent, like Abha Singh said, maternal instinct or a paternal instinct can exist in anyone. But this law, again, doesn't allow single parents, homosexuals, live-in couples. They are not allowed. So, again... for people who might want to have a child, this law is very restrictive. What are the options for them then if surrogacy is ruled out?
So then it becomes really, really hard. And I think today, if you look at our Supreme Court, we've been so progressive. If we look at our recent MTP laws, they've been so progressive compared to maybe the rest of the world. And we are so proud about it. You're making, unmarried women a part of MTP. You're including them. You're not excluding them. You're talking about single women becoming parents. But here, suddenly, when it comes to surrogacy, we have taken a step back and we are not recognizing that today, same-sex relationships, non-binary parents, single women who are not divorced or widows also may have children. So undoubtedly, we need to have an inclusive law which includes all these people. I think we cannot ignore this, huge part of the society. We'd be doing a huge disservice to a lot of people.
Right, very good points made by both the panelists. Appreciate your joining us, Abha Singh and Dr. Ajmera, for giving us your time.